From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your afternoon update.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. When you need a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, durability, simple deck height adjustments, and a professional-grade cut, then you need the Kubota Z400 mower. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 48 months or save $300.
Tractors, trailers, rentals.
You do it all, we do it local.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I do want to remind you that, as you may or may not know, I typically do my most extensive fire coverage during my live morning show called Coffee with Kruger. It's every weekday morning at 7 a.m. This is when I go into great detail. It's usually when the latest maps have come in for the fire perimeters and all the data, and we can really dive deep into the latest information that's coming in. And it's also Coffee with Kruger very much interactive. So if you're on Facebook or on YouTube watching your computer or even from your phone, you can ask questions, you can comment, you can get the conversation going about the fires, and we can kind of get going with that. Now, the 6 a.m. update, I'll have a minor update on those fires. Sometimes the latest data comes in even that early, although they typically come in a little bit after that. So here at the noon hour, unless there's something major that happens, I'm just not going to really cover the fire perimeters that much, and even into the evening hours. So if you are throughout the morning and even in the afternoon want to see what it looked like, at least in the morning hours, you can always go back, click this section, and you can actually see the recorded version of Coffee with Kruger, and you can watch the latest on the fires. Now, if you don't necessarily want to watch that, then you can always check the latest without my input here, and just click right here on the fire danger page. Now, this is going to have pretty much everything you need in one centralized location, from watch duty to the latest fire perimeters to the latest acreage to the latest percentage of containment to even the fire weather data coming in, and not to mention evacuation warnings and orders. It's all right there from the Weather NorCal fire page. So be sure to check that out, all of that fire information for you. And again, I typically don't go into the fire perimeters during this update at noon or typically in the evening. As I mentioned, unless something major happens, I'm going to go live at any time during the day, and that's why I need the Weather NorCal app set to notifications. So if I do go live, I'm going to push out a notification to the app, and you'll know to watch at that point about the fires. All right, here's the cooling trend. It has begun, believe it or not. We're not going to really notice the major or bigger cooling until the end of the weekend, and in particular as we go into next week. So we got a slight dip this weekend, even cooler by next week. And when we're talking rain, yeah, it'd be nice to see some, right? Especially the fires out there. But a lot of times what's associated with the rain here, yeah, are lightning strikes. So we don't like to see that. So we're not going to see any rain or thunderstorms in the forecast really anytime soon, even as we go through next week. All right, here's your neighborhood at a glance here for today. Not much change from yesterday. We're going to keep it pretty much the same. Temperatures right around or just above 100 degrees here for the valley, mid-90s, give or take, for most of the higher elevations, with the exception of Trinity County. So the smoke, same song and dance here. I mean, we're still just looking at Chester, Susanville, really getting the brunt of it as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. Some of it does make its way down towards Quincy, Bernie, Ayden, even into Modoc County. You're probably going to see some smoke and haze out of this as well, but the bulk of it, as you can see here, is mainly over Chester and Susanville, unfortunately. So they're going to continue to see those poor air quality conditions. What we look for in the winds here is the pattern. This is the typical pattern. There's nothing unusual that we're seeing here. If the winds die down overnight, they pick back up in the afternoon. Nothing major, right? So we just look for big wind events that are heading our way, and we don't see any over the next few days, and really in the extended outlook either. Now, another thing we look at is humidity. As we increase the humidity, it makes it harder for the fires to burn. As we decrease the humidity, well, the fires have the drier conditions to burn those fuels. Unfortunately, we're not going to see much relief here for today or even tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's just going to continue to be fairly dry. We're still in those single digits here. As the temperatures drop, though, when we look at the long range, this should help those humidity levels go up at least a little bit here. So when we look at the fire weather risk here for today, the north end of the valley, still high, nothing unusual. Still moderate to high, a lot of yellows here off to the north and east of the valley in Modoc County, Lassen, and not to mention Siskiyou County. But look at this by Saturday. We are seeing some relief here. It's not as high, and we're seeing less of these yellows in the higher elevations. So we are on that downward trend even even with the fire danger, as we get into especially the second half of the weekend and early next week. Now, all the monsoon moisture is off to our east. That's right here. There is a storm system off to our north that's also going to be impacting our weather as we especially go into next week. We'll get into all that. Let's start off with Futurecast here for the rest of the day today. Mainly foggy along the coast. Nothing else really going on for the rest of us. Still that fog really most likely persisting through a good portion of the day for the coast tomorrow. Notice some of these afternoon cumulus clouds developing in the mountains. Sometimes I've seen the forecast model pick up on these clouds and then eventually maybe a stray shower or thunderstorm. At this point, I'm not putting any of that in the forecast, but just be aware that it's something that I'm watching, and don't be surprised if indeed on Saturday around Mount Shasta, eastern parts of Siskiyou County maybe see a stray shower, but at this point I'm keeping it dry. The main thing too we're also talking about is cooler weather. Look what happens as we go into the weekend. You see this right here? This is a weak, albeit weak, but it is a trough of low pressure. This is what's going to help to push the heat that's over us now down to the south and east. As a result, our temperatures start to drop. There will be a reinforcing shot of some cooler air. You see this over the Gulf of Alaska? This is coming in through next week. Now, I'll say this about the forecast model. This same forecast model, I think it was 24 hours ago, 36 hours ago, it was showing this exact same situation. But then the very next model run, it actually took that low mainly up to the north into Canada. And all we saw was just some of that cooler air coming down. So bottom line is this, still a little bit of a question mark exactly where this low is going to go, but bottom line is it's there, and it is, whether it's to our north or even here, it is going to have an impact on our weather for the better. Temperatures dropping, humidity levels going up as a result. And the Climate Prediction Center is still keeping us in that cooler than normal category here in the long range as we go into the next 6 to 10 days. All right, so here's what it looks like for today. Temperatures, the Delta influenced areas could see a little bit of that south Delta breeze keeping temperatures just below 100 degrees or right around 100 for the south end of the valley. But we don't typically, especially these weak Delta breezes, they don't make their way up to the north end of the valley. So as a result, we're still about 103 degrees for Redding. But Willows, you could be down to about 97 today. There's the haze. Now, again, it should probably say smoky for Chester and Susanville, but it's going to be hazy at times, smoky at other times. So basically, the fire is mainly impacting these areas right here in the form of haze and smoke. We may see some of that kind of linger into parts of the valley at times, and not to mention Siskiyou County as well, but shouldn't be as bad elsewhere. Aboard, of course, temperature-wise, mainly still in the 90s for most of the higher elevations today. There's a look at your 7-day outlook. Their downward trend, we're in the Sunday in the 90s, low 90s by Monday and Tuesday, and mid-90s by Wednesday, Thursday. Again, this is just a nice relief to see. We look at the coast, low to mid-60s, no big changes, right? That's standard. But everywhere else, we're seeing that downward trend going into next week. That's the case for Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and also for the Eastern Mountains in the 80s by Monday through most likely all of next week. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you here at 6 o'clock for your evening update.
Cottonwood Small Animal Clinic is one of the only clinics in the area that can see your pet same day and for evening emergencies. We're always striving to improve the care that we give to your pets.
Here at Cottonwood Veterinary Clinic, we have 10 brilliant doctors here to provide your pet with amazing collaborative care. From not only your dog to your cat, but also your gecko, your horses, your goats, and your cows. Come on down and see us. Both clinics are located in the heart of Cottonwood.